This is Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut. I got Dave Hillis here, and we're talking random, crazy, awesome stuff about audio today. So let me bring him in. Dave is back, everybody. So they can see you now.
I'm back.
Dave.
Good to be back.
Nice. So, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to go over. We were just briefly talking about headphones just now and how you've recently gone down your quest of, like, trying to figure out how to go. Was it headphones only, or, like, what was the purpose of you, like, diving into headphones recently?
A number of things. I started, traveling to Europe, for one, thinking about that, and also just that everybody's listening to headphones. We know that, and earbuds. And I noticed sending mixes out, like people hearing things. And I'm like, wow, these people are really analyzing these mixes in their headphones. And then I started nerding out watching, I think his name was Paul Third or something like that. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, and then he got me, and then you start just becoming a nerd and listening to all that, and I was just
every time I watch his videos, he makes me want to rewatch Braveheart in its entirety. It's that he's got a good like Scottish accent or whatever.
Yeah,
it is, I think,
yeah,
right?
totally.
So
but also, it triggers that nerddom,
right,
in me. That here's something else for me to trip out on and spend money and freaking go nuts over. So I don't know. So there's actually real world value to what I was doing, and then he starts talking about it. So I'm like, and I just thought to round out what I'm doing, and and just gear lust and everything else that goes along with it. But yeah, so and then just reading so much about Slate Digital and their phones and people swearing by them and this and that. So.
Yeah. Is that a Pittsburgh? Is that a Pittsburgh?
That is
special?
A Pittsburgh train.
That's a
Pittsburgh. Doesn't usually ever come by ever, like ever. So that's kind of crazy.
That's pretty cool, though. Have you ever had a recording with that featured on it? Because
no, it's never. No, like they're so rare, and if they do come, they're usually really late at night, which is like great. You're like in bed. But yeah, super rare. So that's crazy. But yeah, that's a nice treat there.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I was like, that sounds like a really good train sample.
I was hoping nobody was hearing it.
No. I hear it loud and clear. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
My mic is very sensitive.
Definitely.
What do you want?
It's part of the ambiance, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So
I know. Yeah, build a studio by a railroad track.
No,
I actually had a studio in Seattle that was by a railroad track as well. And I was like, am I cursed somehow? Like, what is... That was much worse, though. But anyway.
I think airports...
yeah, that was my headphones kind of get sucked into that black hole of headphones.
That's interesting. To the train thing, I think airports are the worst thing to be near because that's the worst, just like a white noise that builds and
they're going all the time.
Yeah, that's the worst. Whereas trains are doable. But back to the headphone thing. Yeah, so I went down a headphone journey of my own, and I wound up with these after trying like
I almost went there.
The Odysseys.
Yeah.
A lot of people love the Odysseys and the.
I was this close. I still might.
They're. Honestly, for me, it was between the LCDX and those Manny Marroquin MM500s.
Yeah, that's the ones I was looking at.
It depends. It so depends what you like, and that's what I realize is that no two engineers like the same headphones. If you like super bright headphones, super bright speakers like Andrew Sheps loved the Tannoys, which are I feel like those things are almost the brightest speaker ever. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he basically loves the Sony MDR 7506s
right
for a similar reason because they, like when I put those on, it's every mix I do sounds like terrible when I take it off of those headphones. I cannot mix on the 7506s.
Yeah, they don't translate. Yeah, they're kind of like NS10s, but NS10s translate. So
yeah, it's so personal.
Yeah, I don't look at them. I think Okay, well, here we go. So my view that I'm forming is it's one thing like are you using that? So I started buying two different other kinds of headphones as well. I told you I'm on the path. So for if I've found out there's ones I want to listen to that are literally utility that I'm trying to use them as I would NS10s or NS40s or whatever, comparatively to ADAMs or full cal speakers or ATCs or whatever. There's ones I want to know, like say with the Hi-Fi Nanos, and he's talking about the bottom end. Okay, well, yeah, I kind of hear what he's talking about. Not exactly what he's describing in his videos, but I see. Okay, I can check low end stuff. I'll put on like those Neumann ones, and they don't sound great, but I kind of can tell now how they sound in a normal kind of more studio / consumer or something. And then there's ones I buy that are strictly consumer, so I can see, oh, I just enjoy listening to music in these. The ones I'm using for mix checks or anything, I don't think I want to hear my music. I don't want to listen to them enjoyably. I'm using them as a tool. That's what I'm finding out. But then I was also going, hey, part of this process was I started thinking to myself, I never listen to music anymore for enjoyment, And I'm either writing my stuff, working on that, or I'm doing other people's stuff, and I don't listen to music anymore. And then I might see my wife or something listening to music and enjoying it off of whatever. And I'm like, wow, I forgot what that's even like, So with traveling and stuff, I said, I want to get some what headphones sound good, like I'm listening to a good hi-fi. And I don't care about the mix. I just want it to sound nice and listen to music and fall in love with it again that way. So I'm trying to do this now. I'm going down that where I want a balancing act of the two. And then I also figure if I want to hear what consumers are hearing. But I do know some of these other ones are going to help me find problem areas or spots or double checks on things. And so that's what I'm finding out how I'm using them. Therefore, now I have 5 new pairs of headphones.
Did you buy a bunch? And
yeah, kind of.
Within the wind, yeah, I'm with you on that. I did that at one point.
And then I also now wonder, could have I just stayed with these, and I probably would have been okay. I don't know if I gained a ton of advantage over having all these new headphones.
Yeah, it's a tricky.
I'm not sure yet.
Play. It's a tricky play. A lot of people seem to swear by those Neumanns, and I haven't tried those.
That's why I bought them.
What are they? The NDH30s or something?
Correct.
Something like that? Is that what they are?
I think so.
I'm going off the top of my memory, but I just know that a lot of people think
they're okay.
They're okay.
They're okay. There's something I kind of like about them.
And that's what we're always looking for, I guess, is that I've abandoned the idea of thinking that there's one tool that's going to be great for enjoyment and also mixing. I'm just like,
well,
where's
I'm still
the tool?
looking for. I want a nice pair of consumer headphones that sound like I guess I'm getting nostalgic or looking for this nostalgic sound I have in my head of when I was listening to things, in the late 70s, early 80s on my hi-fi.
Yeah.
Those big stupid headphones that my dad probably had. And listening to Styx and Boston and Foreigners, and how good it sounded to me. That's what I want when I travel or I'm just want to listen to music again to remember how cool it is. I want those. And then I'm finding these other ones being, good tools to have for me to check stuff on, and they're definitely good tools. Do a lot of money has been spent on finding that out, and I don't know if it matches up to the price, but that's to be determined, I guess.
Yeah, for me, if it was a straight enjoyment headphone, the LCDXs are kind of pleasant because there's so much low end in them. They're also so big that they get around your ear. I don't know, they were less clinical than the ones I wound up with because I was looking for a headphone to mix on.
Right.
And I didn't think of it in terms of I just need a headphone that I should put on to listen to for enjoyment. You know,
Well,
but
I've been looking at like stereo companies type stuff. Like
yeah,
consumer ones that are going that way.
that's
They're
interesting.
totally
Yeah,
for that. But then, as far as mixing, I don't know yet, and I haven't tried it really yet. I haven't had something to dedicate that specific project to try to mix something on headphones. Now, in the past, when I've tried, just failure. Like, there's no way it didn't translate at all. But I'm willing to try again. So I did go for it and bought the Slate digital ones.
Oh,
Not the brand new one, the new immersive whatever. I don't get those because they came out, of course, right after I bought these ones. The little testing I've done,
yeah,
I don't know if I could mix on them. I mean, I don't know.
really, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how people are doing it really, but maybe I haven't really tried, so
Well,
we don't know. But first impression, I will say this: that the emulation, like the speakers, when I go from the speakers, what I'm viewing in the image of what speaker I'm playing, like the Polk speakers in one of those rooms, and to the PCMs and to whatever, I go, whoa, those really do sound Polks. Those really do sound like PCM. Like the speaker simulation to me. The room thing, I don't really know if I care about that as much, but I'm more impressed that it sounds like those speakers.
Right, because none of the rooms are your room, so it's all a different room. So
it is cool. It does sound like a room. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Does it benefit me in any way? I don't really know, but I will say, wow, that is cool that it sounds like my mix is coming out of Polk speakers, like to the T or to.
And that's the VSX, right? Like that's
just the VSX. Yeah.
And you find the drivers on those and everything, like they sound
the phones
good.
Themselves.
Yeah. What's your overall thought?
They don't seem that impressive.
Right.
Everybody's saying they're just great headphones by themselves. Are they? I don't know. Didn't really blow me away, but
gotcha.
The new ones look really, really nice. The new ones.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be maybe they're more expensive too, but they look like they're definitely an upgrade in that.
That's the big part of the conversation, I think, when people talk about headphone mixing. It's like, what are you using with the headphones? So even if you're using VSX, it has all that stuff built in, but can opener is a plugin that's talked about a lot.
There's the headphone amp. There's
Well, that's the other thing I was going to mention is are you using, like, when you've used headphone mixing experiments in the past, when you've done them, did you find you ever tried like a trial of Sound ID or any of those?
I did not. Back then, that wasn't even talked about really back then.
Yeah.
But now, I'm just, I'm not. Jury's still out on that. I got to see. I'm gonna try mixing something, probably one of my own things, and see. I'm not willing to take risk on the time on a paying project right now, but
totally, because you'll wind up having to mix
some things and see, and I get it why, like in Europe and places, or you're living in New York or something. You're in a flat somewhere, or you got to figure out how can I do this without being able to crank speakers. So I'm totally intrigued and want to explore that and see if that's an option.
Yeah, there's
or if
a lot
it just makes me better in some way.
It's got that. That's the way I look at it too. Anything that's hard for us to do, to some degree, we will learn from trying it and really just trying to sink our teeth in. Right. So. The variable factor. There's so many variables.
Yeah.
What were you about to say? I don't want to cut you off there.
Oh, I was just, excuse me. I was going to say, just in the world in general now, people have always checked mixes on headphones, but I definitely notice the clients are picking up, like, I can't let anything slip by. They're on their headphones and they're hearing every little anything. Yeah. I'm like, what? You heard that? And that happens when I get lazy and I don't check.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
So I used to be, you could get away with it when people weren't as picky. Now I was like, man, people hear everything.
It's such a different
experience. They got their
experience.
earpods in, they're listening to it 100 times. And
yeah, just to add one little weird thing about this that I heard is, somewhere I heard people are singing less because when you play music in a room and you hear the speakers, we sang along with every record we ever had, even whether you have a good voice or not, doesn't even matter. I remember driving in the car playing stuff, always sing along to it. Now when people are headphones only, they're not singing along to it because they can't hear their voice. It's not the same as when the music's playing in the room. So it's like a whole generation of people who are like singing in their head only. They're not like just farting out noise with their headphones on like we used to do.
It seems like we have more great singers than ever. Like every one of those TV shows, every kid who gets up there is phenomenal.
I don't think that's actually, I don't think it's more today. I think there's a freaking camera on everyone.
Yeah.
So that means
that could be. And I think some of it seeing YouTube and people learning things and mimicking.
Yes, there's more information freely accessible, but I just feel like there probably always were this many 6 to 8 year olds who could do cool shit. We just didn't know because nobody held a camera.
No.
Now, I forget who said that too, but it was something like, we're people your age, people my age, like I had baby pictures that weren't in a phone. Everyone else has only baby pictures from a phone. Like every picture they've ever had taken of them is on a phone.
I mean, I go through that all the time when people, I have especially that little period during the early 90s, for whatever reason, when I was in a band and signed and all that, and making a record, when I was doing the Pearl Jam stuff and Alice in Chains, all that, we didn't document any of it. Nobody was taking pictures. Nobody had a camera. But I don't know, everybody did it in the 70s and the 80s and the rest of it. I don't know what it was. There was this little pocket of time where we weren't interested in taking pictures or something. It's so strange.
It's
like
crazy.
I have nothing to show from my history, very little from anything I've done.
Right.
Let alone my family stuff.
Right. And it's sad on one hand because all the, like, you want more memories to just be like, oh, remember that day, remember that van ride, remember that club, remember that, that bartender.
Now everybody's got their whole life documented.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely very different. But, I found that the bands that document stuff the best, back then especially, were bands that had a guy around who wasn't in the band, but who made it his job to be like, I'm the guy who takes the document. I document everything. So the bands that had that guy were always...
The grunge era, there was like Lance Mercer and all that.
Right.
But it was like this little pocket where... Because everybody was starting over again, and it was all kind of like nobody was ready to document anything.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it didn't get now for me when I was doing our record, like why weren't we were excited. We should have been taking pictures like crazy. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I feel like I was always like the guy who would take the reins to do stuff, but if I'm in the band, I can't also be the document guy. And I think that's the line so many bands toe these days is like, who's going to take the photos and the stuff?
Yeah, well, it's an important issue now.
Oh, totally. I actually said that to a band recently. I was like, why are there 6 people in your band? Like, you need that, like, second, why, like, who are all these guys?
Kick one out and make him a video and camera guy?
That's exactly my point. I was like, you need to get...
Social media guy.
I was like, no matter how many of these shows you play, like, if no one outside of that club sees you, that's less... You have less reach.
Yeah. No, that's the truth. That's how it is.
Instead of paying all these guys from the split, like, just pay somebody to make that their job, Anyway, but you can't... It's tough to explain this stuff because so many bands still don't want to admit that they need to promote themselves. And it's a different world than it used to be.
We had to promote ourselves then too.
Right. Everybody always had to.
Even when we got signed, it didn't stop. We had to do it all the more. We didn't have social media, which made it harder. So it's actually easier now. So
yeah, that makes sense too.
It's like when people do that, I kind of go like, stop crying, seriously.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Back to the headphone thing real quick. What headphone amp are you just plugging straight into your interface?
Paul.
Yeah.
told me
No,
through the YouTube.
I don't want this to become a Paul Third video. Like you'll be.
No, I got the one he recommended.
Oh, what's that? The Chinese one?
Yeah, the Chinese one. The
What was that?
It's on the top of my tongue. Toppling.
Okay.
Toppling.
Yeah. I don't know nothing about it.
It's loud. You know, I had. This will ruffle some feathers. I had a year or two ago. I had the Neve headphone amp.
Oh, the Rupert Designs one?
No, I did not. I take that back. I had the
While you're thinking of it, I was this close to buying a Rupert Neve Designs, I think it was like the $400 to $500 headphone amp thing, because I was convinced that was gonna be a better solution, having just used a very popular interface and their headphone amp to try to mix stuff, and I wasn't happy. But this is where we get into the problem with variables. There's so, like, when it comes to speakers, there's a lot of variables. The height of the speakers, the distance away from you, the type, how big is the speaker, how big is your room, is it enough power for the room, do you like to mix loud or low? There's all these crazy variables, right? But headphones, you would think there'd be less because it takes the room out of it. But I find there's almost more, because it adds this other stuff to the puzzle, like the headphone amp. And then what software you use or don't. I found when I put Goodhertz on it, which the Goodhertz can opener plugin, it blends the left and right, so you get more of a sense of comfortability. I don't know if that's a word, but being comfortable in the room when I mix on speakers is not the experience I have when I put on headphones. It's so unnatural almost to have stark left information and stark right. Like, it's just, there's no, that phantom center is like not there. So that can opener helped a lot. But there's settings within that too. So as I move those around,
that's a whole other thing. You just get caught. I mean, that's why the guy Paul has so many videos on it. There's so many different things to go.
I believe it.
Down that wormhole.
I believe it, and it's, and then the sound ID is another different one. And then there's like waves, rooms and like Blackbird rooms, and you can get all these different like room choices. And I don't know if that's, so it's just this rabbit hole I found where,
ultimately, I don't know if it helps me get my job done. That's the thing.
Yes. A big part of me is like, I can understand room correction in a headphone even more so than in a room, because like if you're sitting in a point in the room that can't be corrected by room correction because there's a null because of where the bank off the wall is, so the frequencies collide, they cancel out, no matter how much you boost to that frequency, it doesn't actually help. Whereas in a headphone, that totally makes sense to like re-EQ the for whatever, but this is where it goes nuts.
But then you're losing translation. It spirals out of control.
Yes,
too quickly.
The part that's weird, and I get passionate about this because I'm like, it's so weird to me how it's like a headphone manufacturer like Audeze or any of these headphones, like the Focals I'm wearing, they designed the headphone to sound as like the best it can almost. Like they tried to. The way I'm looking at it is the physics and how they built it, the size of the driver, the size of they tried to make it sound what in their mind was the best. Now, to take that and change it based on a curve because it makes it easier to mix on or something is very strange to me, because it's almost like you're trying to make the headphone work against itself.
Right.
Like why? So that's where it's like, I don't know, man. So, and when someone like me or you, who's so used to working on speakers, now we're not happy with headphones no matter what. Now, when you throw all these variables into it, it's like, man.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm not happy or blown away by any of the headphones I bought.
Yeah.
After all this money, I'm going, ugh.
I hate to say it, yes, but as much as I love these, I'm with you. I love these, and I'm still using these because I'm more comfortable. I know what they sound like.
Right.
Whereas I put these on, and I kind of like they sound better. They sound more. There's just more low end. There's more mids. It sounds more like I would want to hear music on. But I can get a
See,
better.
I don't even know that.
I,
I don't know. These aren't necessarily what I want to hear music on.
right. Well, the buyers you're talking about, or
No,
other
I'm
stuff?
talking about like any of these, like the the Nanos or the
Okay.
Neumanns or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
I'm actually disappointed. That's why I'm like, God, I gotta find something else that I want to just listen to. Like I was saying, like as a consumer.
Yeah.
So, but I'm using them as a tool, but they're not.
I hear you.
Yeah.
The quest is still on, is what you're
Yeah,
telling
the
me.
quest is way. I'm still just brand new in this quest. So I don't know.
I understand that. Let's.
But yeah, when I see these people just raving about, oh my God, I can
Yeah.
change my whole career having these Slate Digitals. I'm like, really? I'm not there yet. I get it, and I'm impressed with part of it. But as far as I can just go grab a laptop and sit at Starbucks now and do all my work. I don't see that happening. I would love it, but I don't think so.
That's the best.
But I don't
part.
know yet. I might be coming back to you going, you know what?
Yeah.
Freaking works. I don't know.
And that's the thing, is it could be like you change one thing and it works. Like there was an Alicia headphone amp that I was really kind of eyeing for a little while. Have you ever tried that? This is Alicia, that make the Alpha compressor and a bunch of other
Oh, right.
pretty
Great company.
amazing company.
I always pronounce it wrong, so when I heard it said right, I didn't know what you were talking about.
To be well,
But now I realize, yes.
they're not a U.S. company, so I don't even know if I'm saying it right. But it's just
amazing equipment. I
amazing.
use their plugin. Love it. Yeah.
They make amazing stuff, and when I look at their headphone amp, I was interested because it does the bleed thing. It does this bleed thing. It's kind of portable. It's like a thing that will stand on your desk or something. But I never tried it.
I gotta look at that.
I never tried it. I was just like, man, that'd be a cool thing to like take with me. If it could make me, if it could do this magic thing that's like gives me something better than the headphone amp on an interface that's super easy to throw in your bag. Because that's the thing. It's like those interfaces never have the best headphone amps. You always have to get a separate because they're,
I like my headphones to be loud too. So that was the one thing about this headphone amp. I can get some volume to it.
What are you using? Like, what's the thing you take with you if you were to go to Starbucks? What would you take as your headphone amp?
Well, I just bought that the toppling.
Oh, right. That toppling, yeah.
I don't know if that's the winner. I just tried it.
Yep.
And it gave me loudness. I don't know if it did anything else.
Yeah, well, it gives you that, and it's a good price, right? If
it was
I'm
a good
not
price.
mistaken. Yeah,
so that's why I took a chance on it to see.
I'm with you.
Because like I was saying, there's this other headphone amp I bought. I cannot remember the name. The guy, it's up there with like it's known to be a cool, good one. Maybe it'll pop in my brain here, but like when I was visiting Vance, or Vance Powell was visiting me, and he saw it, and he goes, "Oh, those are great." And I go, "Really?" Because I was going to sell it. And I ended up selling it because I wanted to like it so much. It's supposed to be so great. And I didn't hear any different. I was like A-B'ing it against my interface, headphone, and everything, and trying all. I'm like, I just don't hear anything that's special at all.
Isn't it?
And I'm glad I don't remember the name because I would hate to badmouth it.
It's probably better. I'm with you on that. Let's move off the headphone thing for a second. Yeah. Because that's
endless.
It's endless. Yeah. I've never tried the Slate stuff, by the way, just to chime in.
Yeah, I just rolled the dice on it. I said, okay, I've heard it.
I've always been this close.
Yeah, that's how I was too, and I just finally did it.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of people were talking about them, and
To be fair, I haven't used them enough yet to really judge anything. But like I said, I was impressed with the speaker.
That's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. Some stuff I know people are going to want to know because I just think, what do I want to know? And what I want to know is what you use on your Mixbus. Talk to me about that. And if you could compare it, I know we briefly touched on what you used back in the day, when you guys would, in the Seattle Grunge era, in the 90s you're mixing stuff and it was a totally different world. We're talking, all analog stuff, but what do you use now in plugin form? Let's start there and then compare contrast.
I've been using some new things, changing around, and it depends. I'll be on a streak on a certain, and it just depends. But I usually, if it's a rock thing, my general stuff that's coming in, I probably always use that soft tube, Germanium compressor.
Interesting.
The Chandler.
Yeah, I almost bought that, and I don't think I did. What? So the
I think
Chandler
it's phenomenal.
Germanium.
Oh, the real hardware is phenomenal, and but yeah, that's always there. And the Alicia, is that how you say it?
I think so.
EQ.
Yeah. Oh, they're EQ.
Yeah, I use those two almost always. And then it's various other ones, depending on what I'm going for. I use just a couple of acoustic audio ones. I'm a fan of a number of their plugins. Some don't do it for me, but some really do.
Mm.
Not every single thing is as gold as some. There's some that just are, I think, incredible emulation, as far as analog and getting weight and things like that. So there's a few different ones of those I'll use.
Like what? Name a couple or one. Yeah.
The Basato EQ.
Okay.
The Water,
Okay.
I like a lot. One of my new favorites, I think, is a sleeper amongst the fans of that company is Tulip. It sounds the most like running it through an analog console. It's really got that sound to it. It works a lot. It depends how. Like I just mastered something for a band from England, and I threw it on there and it didn't need it. It's just too. You know how it is. Sometimes you don't need saturation. You don't need that. But if I want to add some kind of color, which I like things to sound colored.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a transparent guy. I like that. So I'll play with those different acoustic audio ones mixed in with those. I've been using lately that Sound Theory.
What, Gulfos or something?
Gulfos, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been using that lately.
A lot of
as
people
of
like
late,
that.
that's been on it.
Yeah. That's cool. What's the order in terms of like EQ after compression?
The
before,
Chandler, the soft tube Chandler is before the EQ, the Ulysses EQ that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, it depends. I'll play around with them, see how they sit and what's affecting each other. Sometimes I'll put a tape thing in there. I've been playing with some different IK Media stuff. I got a bunch of their stuff. I'll experiment. There's those few that are going on there, and then there's ones I'll throw in and around and see what the magic combination is for.
Gotcha.
For that thing, I'm really, in general, I'm not like a template. This is what I use all the time. There's a few things like that, like I said, that I'll just go to right away because I just know my bottom end gets bumped and the weight starts getting there. And I'll mix into those, and then I'll start playing around. As I mix builds, I'll start playing around with the other ones.
Gotcha. So when you turn that stuff on, how early in a mix would you say? Like how much do you build?
Those first two I mentioned are go right on, and I start mixing into those.
Gotcha. So from jump, you got.
I also recently just played around with the company. What do they call it? Adapt or something? No. It's that. It's on the Plug-in Alliance stuff. It's got like Hyper and another compressor. They got a couple different ones. I just started playing with those the other day. And I went, whoa! Like discovered a thing on that I went, wow! Where was that all my life?
Huh.
So Sometimes, there's always those weird things I'll try and you discover. But yeah, those two I start mixing right into, and then you know what I use a lot too? It's maybe not 100% of the time, but a good 75% is the two of them actually I've been playing. The Arturio Bus or Force, I mean, and I've been using here and there. It works sometimes. Their 1176 plugin, and I don't even really compress it much, and I use the output for kind of making my level right, but it gives it a nice, like I just ran it through a piece of hardware kind of thing.
Interesting. And you'll put
sometimes it works,
Yeah. On your Mixbus.
Yeah. Sometimes because something came up where I remembered, or somebody had talked about throwing an 1176 or the 78, I think it was, because those had that sound with their transformer, and I go, oh yeah, I used to love that because we had one at London Bridge, and so I just threw that one on to see if for fun. I go, oh, that kind of worked, so kind of did something. So there's a couple I just pull out of my pocket that I know of, and I'll try and see what. I
forget who uses, like, the 1178 is a stereo version of a 76, if I'm not mistaken.
But they had, at least the particular one we had, I don't know, it was just something about running through it. Like I would run a snare drum, like you wouldn't even compress, you wouldn't do anything with it. Whether it was a transformer or something in it, there was a sound on it that made it, 100%. Everything sound something.
I don't know what, I 100% hear that. Some gear, you don't have to hit hardly at all to get an amazing result out of the transformer within it, or the line amp, or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's something in that, at least the one we had that I loved. So, but that's kind of what triggered that experiment.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, like I was saying, it's like I don't have a mixed template on a recording. The only time the template's used is when, like, I'll go to a studio and a house guy will pull up their template. But I end up just stomping all over that because I just don't. I just like to start over. Yeah. Every time.
Because it's more fun. Let's face it.
I can't imagine. Well, because I got to hear what's going on. I can't imagine that that's what I'm going to have on every guitar or snare or something. Like, that's crazy to me. I don't know. It's just not how I go about it.
I hear you. That's like we were talking about on my live sessions where I mix a song like start to finish. What I love to do is not use what I used last time. So if I did a whole mix with like 1081s, and I was like, all right, this time, SSL plugins. Okay, this time, like maybe this time.
I always say I'm going to try that, and I never go through it. I end up.
I love it. I
always end up like going off.
Yeah. No,
I never stick to it.
It's okay to go off when like it just won't work for whatever, but I use it as like, what am I going to populate most of the channels with? Is how I think about it.
Never end up doing it.
I did it one with like all API vision channels.
And what was the outcome? I'm curious.
They all worked because what I find is this. Yeah, I mean, out of all of these, I felt like I've yet to encounter a situation where I was like, okay, I got to take a ton of these off. I think our taste always takes over. It trumps everything, and then we just try to get that out of the EQ. And if the EQ won't do it, you can put a second version of a different EQ to kind of make up the difference. So I've combined EQs before. Like I love using the 1081 for color, and then if you put an SSL either before or after usually after it, now all of a sudden, okay, 1081 beautiful, but you want to carve a little section, do it with the SSL.
Right. Oh yeah, well that's the beauty of plugins and stuff.
Exactly.
Speaking of the SSL, on the Mixbus, last two things I did, I don't know how it came up. I just was pulling something out of my, and I threw an SSL on the Mixbus somewhere because I thought, I don't know, maybe I was thinking, God, I had that little that SSL high-end thing. Maybe I'll just do it. And I end up, bumping up the low, like 100 on it or something, and then just a little bit of high-end, and it just like, the whole mix just bloomed on the bottom and stuff. I'm like, what? Have I not been doing this before? Tried on something else, worked great. Tried on something else, nope, and took it off. So
Yep.
it just depends. And then first time in a long time, I just mixed this stuff from this guy. And it was very kind of 60s vibe, arty. So, not things slamming and loud, like in string sections, quiet and light. And my usual stuff was not work. Like I had to take off the channeler and it was just too much. It was giving it too much. And he was going home with the mixes going, yeah, it's too, I was like, yeah, you're right. And so we went back and I had to take this, and it was really hard for me to take some of the stuff off because I've been getting so used to these modern mixes and me blowing stuff up to compete, making sure that bottom end's huge and this is huge and that's huge. And it was a little difficult, like having to cut those things because I thought this isn't going to be right. You're not going to like it when you get home. And he's like, oh, this is so much better.
Right. Yeah. That
So
preconceived
that was a
notion.
reminder there. You got to go, whoops, I'm getting too caught in the system.
Totally. And, using the same stuff all the time will do that to you. And as soon as you take it off, like you said, your eyes just open up, man. It's like,
Well,
wow.
it's more than that, though. What I was getting out of it, I mean, that's a definitely legitimate thing and something that I'll have to think about. But I mean, this was like remembering that how mixes are being done now and the competitiveness in that particular genre. Then when you go out of that, remembering that you don't have to do that. That not every, I guess my point is like I say, when I'm doing a lot of rock stuff or modern rock stuff or and I've been doing everything from grunge stuff to like full on doom metal, wall of sound, stoner rock stuff. In some way, everything's blowing up. So when you start getting in a different genre, you got to remember that we're not trying to, win the loudness war or this or that, or the bottom end's your subs got to be like, you can, if you're doing dance music or hip hop, you're worried about your bottom end and your subs and all that. And then you got to remember there's genres where that doesn't matter, and you can step away from that and readjust your thinking and your concept of what a good mix is for that.
Totally. It's like everybody.
But it feels
listens.
wrong for a minute.
We absolutely, like, I agree with everything you just said, 100%. Because there's so many, it's so much more based on what the listener, like in this case, the artist, is expecting, and what they're expecting is based on whatever they think the music is. So if they think they're doing a 60s record and you deliver a mix that's like a modern sounding mix, they're not going to like that.
Right.
It's so dependent on their head, on what they think it is, which is why, I mean, every time you do a mix, do you always have a consult? Like, I always do a phone call or something just to try to talk about the way they think it is. I need to understand their head to be able to know if I should go in and be like you said, hitting things, maybe squashing them more or less, or letting it breathe,
Yeah, well, on this
up.
one, that particular one we're talking about, it made sense regardless when you hear the music. I guess what I'm saying is that you start, if you're doing a bunch of the other stuff, you're just starting to get a habit going. And
Totally.
so that's just a check on yourself.
Yeah.
But to the question about, talking to them before, yeah, and then that can be a whole other thing, though. I'll talk to people about mixes or what we're going to do if I'm producing it or just mixing it. And, that can be just, it's logical, but it also can so throw you off because I think when I talk to a lot of younger artists or just artists in general, what they're describing and their adjectives can be completely different than what I'm thinking. Or if I'm doing them, there's been examples of me doing metal bands, and I might hear them and they say that on the thrash side or something, and I said, God, this would be cool if it was like like old school Bay Area sounding touch. Oh yeah, we love that. And then I do that. And they're like, yeah, that's not it at all.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, I thought that's what we were going for. No, we want more like this. I go, send me something. And they send me something that's completely modern with samples all over it and everything. And I go, well, that's not what we talked about.
Right.
And I'm realizing, well, all that time now dialing that in was a waste. So it's tricky because you don't. I mean, people have a hard time saying, they might say one thing, but they're not really meaning that. So that's where, as a mixer, we're like, oof, that's always a challenge to.
Yeah.
And I've also known as in these times, it's not like back in the day where you were getting hired for a particular sound, and like you're like Chris Lord Algae or something, and you don't get a recall or a revision, or you do, but it's only limited to a vocal up or a guitar solo up kind of thing.
Right.
And because that's why you went there, and the A&R guy did it, and the manager in the band has really hardly anything to say. They let him say it, but it doesn't really even get to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have everything's self-financed usually by an artist, so they make the call, and a lot of times, I think they're horrible calls. Like they're not good calls for a mix, but that's what they want, and so the job has changed a little bit to where you're mixing for what they want. And then sometimes, the frustration I'm sure you deal with all the time of it can end up being silly little panning or volume things that are really unnecessary, don't change anything. Or all of a sudden you're done with a mix and there's an arrangement thing, and or can you fix this drum part and stuff like this? And you're like, whoa, we're way past that, or that should have been done when he tracked it with the guy kind of conversations.
Totally. Yeah. There's like never. I think they should somehow teach that, when is like what stage in the process you can address what issues at. And I feel like most people don't understand that unless they have done it themselves. If anybody who has some experience engineering their own stuff, and more people do all the time, they start to understand that
Right.
they have the same Pro Tools setup that, they got Pro Tools on their computer like we do. They could have gone in and edited their performances meticulously, however they wanted it to be done, potentially, and then the mixer can mix, as opposed to the other way. It's not our job to really get in their head and know that they want everything to be like totally gridded out or whatever, because that's not even like, I don't even think about music that way. If it feels good, I'm happy with it. So I'll only fix a player's, maybe a rush spot or something messed up if it bugs me.
Right.
And a lot of timing issues do bug me. So there's got to be a sweet spot there. And I think that's the thing. Some mixers are more willing to do that than others. I feel like if it bugs me, I'll fix it.
If it's a big guy and he's got an assistant who's going to cut that, which I used to be, then that was my job, doing all that stuff, because he's not going to do it. The mixer's not going to do it. But then if it's like this day and age where we're doing a lot of our own work, that makes it tough. And that was a hard transition part of, over time, when coming from that world to being more of a, on my own, doing stuff, coming from artists, I had to learn, like, this is what I'm dealing with. And you have to get over all that, realize this times has changed and this is what it's like. But for a while there, I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. And it's not worth it. And then, you come back around and then you grow up over it, I guess. And then you do it or you're not going to work. So you adapt to the times. But I know for me, it was kind of, this isn't how you're supposed to make records, but that's where we are now.
The mixer becomes like the pseudo engineer after the fact, and the producer and the mixer. Enjoy.
And it's like every new project, I don't know, it could be any of those things. It's always a new, and you're not doing a lot of the same artists because it takes them a long time to get, the finances into their next record. So, it's usually new people. And so everyone's a new set of You don't know what, you know.
Right. It's a new surprise.
It's a new surprise all the time, all the
I like
time.
that.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm finally starting to get used to that. I was being a little stubborn before, but I'm used to it, getting used to it now. And
Yeah.
it's made me better, honestly. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you know, I never had somebody like editing the tracks for me. Like because of that's like you said, it was kind of a function of a studio that was a bigger studio. You know, when you're
Yeah,
doing your
yeah.
own stuff, you have to do everything yourself. So it really, you know, it does become a question when I'm listening. Is like, will this mix improve if I take out all this like if I make the bass player who didn't mute between the notes and all this weird ringing string, if I just get rid of the stuff that doesn't need
Although,
to be there, you know, that's yeah,
yeah. And then there's the other one, though, where you don't because that's what they want, you think. And then later you're done and they go, oh, no, you didn't take out this and that. I'm like, well,
right,
I didn't know you wanted the, you know, like you don't know, which,
yeah.
and it's,
There's
yeah.
too many questions to always ask, and if you ask, it puts a spotlight on the fact that you think something's bad about something they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It's what a delicate
There's
line, man.
landmines everywhere. So you
It's
just,
yeah.
you know,
That's why sometimes when people ask me, like, you know, or maybe they don't even ask me, but I try to just tell them in advance. Listen, navigating this is extremely difficult, so you
Yeah.
have to get very good at communicating. And it doesn't even matter sometimes if you're the best communicator ever.
that's what I mean. That's what I was
If
trying
the-
to say. Sometimes it's just,
Yeah, sometimes they nod yes, but they're saying no. But
Right.
you would never know that because they're
Yeah.
nodding yes. So it's very weird. You know, the whole thing is like,
and you know, the whole like, oh, this will take you, this is an easy one. Just do this and that and this. It'll
Right.
take, it's like 5 minutes. And you're like, yeah, no, it's not.
yeah,
Nothing's
right.
5 minutes.
Nothing's 5 minutes. Yeah, and sometimes when I undertake that stuff, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, if I just this is just one example, right? If I just went in there and I cut out all those ridiculous things, the track would be so much better. But then, like you said, how many times do you do that and it winds up biting you because
Yeah.
they didn't want that or
I've
something.
And then I wonder, like, why are you? Sometimes I'm like, especially a couple times with me producing, and then getting to mixing, I'm like, why did you even hire me in those roles? Because none of you don't like any, you know, everything that I was contributing, we're not doing, and we're taking away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Pro Tools monkey now for you. And then
Right.
if I'm that, then that's okay. If I know that that's what I'm hired for and I'm going to be. And now, I kind of just go into every gig like that. Like I've had to let go of any integrity, artistic hopes, and go in as I'm pleasing them, and then bring that in where I can, as I can, very judiciously and carefully. When I'm producing and I'm full on in the studio and tracking, most of the times I'm on fire. Then I'm very animated and energetic in there. That'll usually take over, and they kind of fall under my thing. But mixing, sometimes it's like, I don't even, you know, you didn't hire me for it, you know, you're really there to just facilitate what they want, as opposed to where I had this idea, grandiose idea from back in the day, where I'm going to spew my magic all over it and they're going to love it, kind of thing. It's not so much like that.
Right. It's, you know, times are very different. That's for sure. On one hand, we have the ability to do and change and work it's in a way that they're aware of those things. So it's like they want you to do that stuff, but everybody doesn't want you to do that stuff. So it's like, okay, how do we navigate this?
Yeah,
and
you just don't know. It's a crapshoot every time, and it took a while to accept that and figure out a way to work with that, or to be that guy, and how it's going to fit with you in your, you know, daily work, creative marriage.
I totally hear that. I totally hear that, man. Um, just I want to jump back to something real quick because my OCD brain is like, ask about this other thing. So when we were talking about so your two go-to plugins on the Mixbus, you'll start with the germanium Chandler, and then after that you'll put the EQ, and you mix into them from jump. But what do you set? Like, give me some basic settings that you might use since you're starting out and with the thing
I
on.
have a saved tweak that I did on the germanium, which is really simple. It's basically I went to the Brower preset originally, and then just kind of made it my own a little bit. So
And
that's a good starting point.
I'm not familiar with that plugin so
He's
much.
got
So is it like
he's
four
got
to
a
one? Is there ratios on it? Like what's on that
yeah,
plugin?
yeah. It looks like a full on. If you've ever seen the hardware Chandlers, they're mono units, so it's like a two, stereo version of that. But yeah, it's what I use it for more than compression at all, or really, it just adds this massive amounts of bottom into it.
Really?
Why, I don't know. It's not an EQ. There's not an EQ knob on it, stuff like that. But bam, it's like the weight in the bottom end is just huge on it. And then same thing. I have an EQ. There's like an EQ save I have on the EQ, and it just works every time.
Now,
I never
you don't
even
even
tweak them.
You don't even. But is it 50 hertz bump? Is it
I have to
like?
pull it up. What on
I'm curious. On
It's
on the
just an
Alicia.
overall because there's not an EQ.
I'm talking about on the
setting on it.
Alicia.
Oh,
On
on
the
Alicia?
Yeah, on the EQ.
I'd have to look at it. I don't even know where it's at.
I was just curious how in depth,
Next time when we do
Yeah.
something, we'll pull up
Okay.
my Mixbus and I'll kind of show you some of
Cool.
my.
Yeah, no,
things.
that'd be cool because some of the plugins you named, I'm not even familiar with that I should be probably like Tulip. I have never heard of that.
Yeah.
Or I've heard of it, but I've never used it, never threw it up. But I've heard it mentioned maybe a couple times.
It's kind of a sleeper one. And they have such great free trials for that. And so I'll go through some sometimes because I have bought a few that I thought, oh, everybody's talking about these on, whatever YouTube channel about them. And then that one didn't really do it for me. But then I'll find another one that really does it for me that nobody's talking. So I go, okay, this is obviously I'm not, whatever. I'm liking different ones than everybody else is. But there's another one too. I don't do too much with the EQ or anything like that. It just has a sound and a reaction. It feels kind of console, analog, color feel. Like I feel it. It's got something like that I like and a saturation to it kind of thing. The other one is another sleeper one that I think is fantastic. It's called Straw. And that's got some EQs, and I just move each one of them a little bit, and it just is better. It's a better sounding plugin, There's three different EQs on there. And it's modeled after some old Memphis one-of-a-kind console from some studio in Memphis or something. And it kind of sounds like it. Like it sounds like I'm running it through some console that was built in Memphis. And it's got flavor and color, So I've been using those, like I say, and then Endor, trading them out or stacking them sometimes with water or the Pensado EQ, his signature EQ. He's got like a Mixbus preset. I just hit that sometimes, and like it's either killer or it's not.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but those acoustic audio ones, what I like about them is they add a lot of weight and bigness. That now, if I don't use them somewhere, I'm feeling like now I don't even know how I would get my mixes to sound as thick and big. So I'm kind of crutching on those these days.
Do you slap, or I shouldn't say slap the way I think about it, but like do you slap a limiter on the end of it? Like just at the very end?
That's always yeah, I'm always fighting with that because I don't. I always feel like I'm hitting it, I'm compressing it too hard. Da, da, da. I just like something that keeps it from zero. So sometimes I've been using lately, I got not too long ago, that Apogee soft limit plugin. That kind of works sometimes just to keep that zero, that red. I used to use the Slate Digital 2-bus thing. Then I ended up getting rid of this. I didn't renew the subscription. But sometimes I felt I could feel that, hear it on it, and I didn't want it to. So I'm kind of glad I don't use it anymore. Yeah, that's all. That's for me is always that last little wrestling match, is because every time whether it's a clipper, whatever I'm on that end thing to keep it from redding, it's like, God, I don't want to hear it. I just don't want you to hit the red. I'm already
Right.
compressing, doing so much already. I'm heavy-handed on that already that I kill myself by putting that last thing on there and sounding too compressed. So yeah, that's always a struggle. But
I'll tell you the things I like best for that at the moment.
That goes moment to moment for me too.
Yeah, when doing in the box mixes, I found like the last plugin I like, and the very last one on the whole chain is often for me now the CG2, the Make Believe Studios CG2, which is it's just a really, I wouldn't even call it a limiter. It's just this like, it just needs to be last, and it has True Peak on it if you want to mess with that. But
I've got a few that have the True Peak, and
I never turn it on. I just never turn it on because I have a weird thing with True Peak where I feel like that True Peak, like, I don't know. I think if I'm ever bit where I hear something that I didn't hear in the mix room or something, then I will feel differently about True Peak. But the way I look at it is, whenever it is true peaking over zero, it's never causing you a problem because it's something that's built into like the transient of a snare drum or something. So you're never.
No, you're right there too. Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Whereas, I tend, that's a great comment actually, because I'll go back through in my tracks and see what's where, and then I sometimes can find that thing. That's what's doing that. So yeah, that's a very good tip actually.
Yeah, and I feel like if it was not happening there, if it was happening very frequently between the notes, we'd hear it. We'd be like, I hear it. It's like it's, so let's not, we gotta not limit so much or whatever because I'm hearing the distortion or something. But if I don't hear it, then I feel like it's built into something that it doesn't matter, and that's why I never turn it on. But the order for me is that, and then before that, at the moment, I'm just still on the Pro L2 because it can be, in my opinion, the most transparent, the Fab Filter Pro L2, which has been around for a long time. But, when I loved Oxford Limiter for so long, and then I realized it has such a sound in it that it's just like, if you don't want that sound, it's not the plugin for you. Like, you almost,
I agree with that.
So
and the Oxford...
the
inflator.
Inflator's good too. It does its own thing.
I always end up not using it. I put it on and I don't use it.
It's good for its own thing. Those plugins. What are you gonna say? Yeah,
there's another limiter I just tried the other day. It's in the Plugin Alliance bundle thing too. I think it's maybe Hum or something. And that was really good. I used it on something, but then once again, then I might not use it on the next track that I mix because it's too much,
Yep.
It's impressive what it does, but I'm like, then it's usually by the time I'm using it, it's too much, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But if you want to get it loud, it does do that. But
yep.
What's that other one? But there's a ton of those make it loud things out there, clippers, blah, blah, blah. And I've been trying them. I got into it a little bit because everybody's talking about, all right, let me see if I'm missing something here. And I always end up not really using them.
I'm with you on that. Before the Pro L2, gold clip. And sometimes I'll only use one of these, like just gold clip, and then the CG2 after it, maybe just gold clip, no CG2. Gold clip, the Pro L2, no CG2. So any combination of these, but usually in that order. And it's because I like gold clip by Schwab Digital. I like it because it's one of the only things that I found that if I drive into it, just like what you would do on a limiter, it doesn't sound limited. And you can dial in more saturation with the gold knob on it if you want, but it can be very kind of transparent as just your final stage clipper kind of deal. So that's an interesting plugin if you haven't tried Gold Clip.
This leads into something else with the plugin thing. Every time, like there's so many things out there.
Oh, so many.
And I'll hear that, and then I'll buy another one. I'll try that one.
No.
And inevitably, the one I don't get,
is
somebody will say, like you will say that one. Like, God, I almost bought one. Like now I'll have like 500. Like, how many do I have to buy to cover all my bases? You know?
No, you have to cut it off. You have to cut it off.
In general, though, we're all talking such minute things. Then it comes down to how are you going to massage everything with what you got.
Yep.
And I think I'm starting to get, kind of on a roll lately where I'm getting a thing where I'm getting more, where I'm kind of getting definitely a my thing going, and people are generally okaying it or commenting more like, oh yeah, that's that sound you do. We like, I'm like, oh, okay. So, but you know what? That could change like in the next 6 projects I do. I'm like freaking off. So, it's that other thing about being a mixer. It's like, I know you must experience this. It's like waiting for the email back or whatever. Oh, they emailed, like whether, when you sent that first mix and you're waiting for that first feedback, it's like, I don't even know if I want to look.
The best way to deal with it for sure is it's a movie director. I think Woody Allen did this, and people told stories about it or something. But who knows how convoluted it got and who really said it or whatever. But the point is, the way to handle feedback from a guy like that who is constantly making movies was like he would, as soon as he was done, he'd force himself the next day to start on his next project, so that by the time he got feedback, he was so 2 or 3 projects down the line already that he didn't care. So by the time the movie actually came out and all this, he would already be working on so many other things that it was just like, it was what he did, and he wouldn't take it to heart. So he didn't take his art personally and like put all his hopes and dreams on that, the feedback right there. And I think that if we take that kind of advice to music, it's so helpful because
but that's like artistic. Like I'm talking like because I'm wondering how much more work I got, or if I'm starting from zero. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not worried about hurting my feelings. I'm so past that. But it's like, oh, it's just gonna be like, because you just don't know what you get. Like we talked earlier, what their meaning of their adjectives, what they mean compared to what I think they mean. So I'm like, oh wow, is this going to be a completely off base, or am I on? Like, that whole thing. Yeah. Just because then once I know, I go, okay, so now I can judge where I'm going. But it's like before it's that before thing. Mm-hmm. It's like
totally.
What is this going to be?
Yeah, I thought you were referring to like the nerves that get caught up in it.
I don't
and I was
care.
just like,
I've been doing this for too long for that. I've been beaten up so much on that. I don't have any feelings like that. But, it's just the actual, okay, where are we at on this project? And
Totally. I think that advice is more helpful for people who are wrapped up in doing one thing. Like when people they're trying to, they could get a band to send them something, and then they hadn't had a band send them something in a year or half a year. And so it's like that one thing becomes so important, and that's when you fall into this trap of like, really getting down on yourself. Not you. You understand it, but it's just a pitfall to not.
Well, I do that with my, if it's something I'm working on as an artist, I'm a writer on it and stuff. Mm-hmm. That then there's always still that.
Yeah.
The criticism thing. But when it comes to, work kind of stuff in this, it's more of a, and because these days I don't really like overlapping projects, so I kind of want to know. Like I like taking a project, just like if I'm starting to mix this, let's mix this until you're happy before I start doing something else. Sometimes that's impossible. I have to overlay stuff, but I find in a perfect world, I like doing that, staying on it, keeping that session up, and that's what I'm working on.
Makes sense.
And I find more and more that I don't know why, but more and more I'm really trying to nail these things and make them sound really great. Even though I find more and more people don't credit you or post don't even mention that you did it or whatever. But
Yeah, it's a whole other thing.
yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I just I've been wanting to and I think it's kind of educating these artists, and so I'm hoping maybe people start getting this and coming back to me. We can they're getting better. I definitely, because now my career is really working with new artists almost all the time. I don't really get label stuff as much or establish things as much. Once in a blue moon, but a lot of new artists. So which is great, and and I've come to accept it too. A lot of it's learning and they're growing, and now I'm helping with that. It was frustrating at first because I was used to dealing with really great people that are seasoned and they just hit it out of the park all the time. So,
Right.
so this is roles have changed a little bit, but I'm pretty comfortable with it now. And I think I have a lot to contribute that way too, just because I've been in bands myself and coming up as and so I think I work good with new artists in that regard. But it's a whole other set of communication skills and what you're expecting and how your career is going and how you manage that career.
Yeah.
It's so much different.
Yeah. And a lot of the teaching, it's unfortunate, but it's very weird and awkward, and it's not it's almost not our job to educate people on who they should credit, because they should kind of know that. But when you grow up in an era without CDs and nothing with no booklets, it's impossible to find credits
Right.
on a lot of stuff. You could Google it. Half the time it's wrong, and half the time you have to search it out on some other platform. It's never on the one you're listening to it on, finding credit details. So
But it's
yeah.
weird sometimes to me, because then I'm like, you're a generation of knowing all these social media tricks and things and stuff you're supposed to do to help, and you did none of that.
Right.
There's a lot of that. Some people totally get it and are on it, but
Absolutely.
it's surprising sometimes how wow, I thought this is your generation and this is baked into what you do, but
Yeah. A lot of the things we think is common knowledge just isn't.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's an interesting. This is an interesting conversation, because I get a lot from working with people who are kind of learning too, because it's there. I don't know. There's interest there because they're often willing to try new things. They're not so set in their routines, and so there's positives and negatives where you can, depending on the freedom. I like freedom as a mixer to kind of take on more of a producer role. I like that because if the artist is open to it, you can really take something they did and kind of see the vision out in ways that maybe they can't, because they didn't know what was possible in the in the mixing end, in the post. I'm sure you've done this too. You ever pick up a tambourine or something, or sing a background vocal, or do a guitar part, or I do all sorts of ridiculous stuff sometimes, that just because it needs it.
See, that was my point though from earlier. It's
Yeah.
yes, in the past,
Right.
Tim Palmer, famous mixer, he's known for doing little things like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely used to do that. working with Rick was, he would do those things, add piano parts, anything, write harmonies. So, but like I said, it's a different, no, not now. Not, if I'm tracking and producing a band from the beginning, studio, that stuff could happen, but I tend not to do that anymore like I used to. And especially with mixes, because like I said, I don't think, or at least in my experience and what comes up normally now, is I found out the hard way, and it frustrated me for a while and threw me off even wanting to do this kind of a gig, remote mixing type stuff. They don't want that. Like it freaks them out, and it was, I had to get over that, and it kind of hurt my ego. I don't know if it hurt my ego as much as I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. And like I said, I learned more. No, a lot of times it's me walking them through learning what a mix is. Maybe that much, but it's mostly getting it to where they like what they put all their hard work into, because honestly, they're the producer of the project. And so I found more, more likely that it's better if I don't do that. And it's because they're usually new bands and don't realize that used to be part of the process, or that's what you would hire a producer for, or what a producer even is. I mean, let's get down to that. This generation for a while, maybe even the last one, don't really understand the definition of a producer. And because, as everything these days, the meanings are so spread across everything a producer now is. And, I remember meeting with a band, and they really wanted to work with me because they thought they should, and they'd heard about me. And I start talking about producing and being the producer or whatever in some form. And they're like, the one guy just looked and said, he was like really into all this, but he said, I'm just confused. I don't think we need a producer. We don't need beats made.
Wow.
And and he was being earnest, and what his understanding of a producer was: a guy who sits behind a drum machine and makes beats.
They killed us by not taking that word and calling it a bread maker or something. Like, call it anything else.
Yeah, it's just like the word rock star is used for a guy who sells cars or something. It's just used, or you come into work, oh, you're a rock star. These words have been just so used across the board that their definitions now are so blurred amongst and things that are done in the studio. All these things have just been blurred by moving into homes, things, people having DAWs, generational things, music genres fusing together, style, so the older meanings of these things are not the same anymore. So it gets tricky. And then if you're dealing with a new band who's never really worked with outside, they're already just figuring out their unit together, and whether they recorded it themselves or with the local guy in town or whatever, then handing it off to somebody like me, that's all confusing in itself, let alone,
Yeah, I hear you.
And unless you're in a situation like I did a band recently, and then they went off and got signed, and then it changes then because there's money involved in a way that their bills being paid to be with another guy, and that guy now has a hierarchy and the power to do more and take control, and they have less to say, or not even like their creativity is being stifled, but the role is defined more and engaged more. So when you're not in that position and you're dealing with a newer artists that are coming to you remotely like that, it's hard, at least in my experience, to do the types of things you're talking about like I used to do or you do. So kudos to you if you get away with it and it works.
No, man, I pick and choose my battles for when
Yeah.
I think that should happen, and it's usually based on a relationship with the artist. That's just, because I need to know what I'm going to be dealing with, and even then, it's still a minefield, because I'd be lying if I didn't say I would do stuff like that and then still feel like it wasn't appreciated at some point.
Right.
Usually it is. Sometimes, like you said, it isn't, and then you say, well, I definitely shouldn't have gone out of my way. Should just left it with what you gave me and just made the best of that. So I totally hear where you're coming from.
That's why I say when if I'm producing and tracking a band from the start in a big studio, I get away with it because I'm in motion doing it.
Yep.
And I'm pulling something wild out that they haven't seen before. And like, what's he doing? I'm a mad scientist guy. And then all of a sudden they're hearing it and they're going, oh, wow, that's cool. Then you can kind of steamroll over the process enough to where they can see it and they understand it when you're doing it, because they're kind of lost in the studio. But when they're giving you stuff, now I find it harder to be able to do those types of things.
It makes sense, but they're okaying it while it's happening or after, because if they hate it, then someone in that band's gonna do the stank face and be like, what are we doing here?
And you can kind of steer it away or tame it down or whatever.
It's another benefit of having the band around is making sure that it goes in a direction they want. So especially, like you said, you can make those choices. Being a producer, you cannot do remotely. Like it's one of those jobs where if you're not in the room, you lose so much, because so much is said with no words.
Right.
It's all about you can feel the energy change when something is not what they like or it's so different.
You can do I've had successful pre-productions remotely.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, as far as producing, you got to be in the room. And even there's sometimes it's great if a band is local or even close local. Like I have a band from Ohio that will drive down and listen, and that helped a lot. I mixed it and then played back, and if there's tweaks I did, and that was cool and it worked. But I've had that happen. I had a client fly out from the West Coast, come mix with me detailed stuff. He's picky about a lot of things. We got it all there, goes home with it, and is completely unhappy and gives me these just list Excel sheet of changes and things. I go, dude, this is why you came out, to avoid this.
Yep.
And you sat with me 5 days, 10 to 12 at night, like going through this stuff, and like, how could you have missed all this sitting in the room with me?
Why do you think that is? Was that
he's fucking crazy?
How many times do you think that stuff happens with people because they're mentally ill?
I think
to some degree.
Well, I think it happens. I think there's definitely there's definitely people, you want to be brutally honest. I mean, there's some people just don't have good taste. They don't know, they haven't listened to enough records. They haven't studied that crap, and they don't have a good ear for what's right. Or a big problem I hear a lot, or see a lot, is just very typical of brand new artists and stuff is, it's the typical guitar player. I just think that solo should come down. And you're just going, that is sitting perfect. I've listened right. That's right where it should be. And being a guitar player, I'm like, that's where it should be. And then you dig a little deeper. Well, I kind of ad-libbed there, and it just wasn't the part I usually play. So just kind of bury it. I'm going, if I bury that, it's going to sound so stupid. It's going to sound noticeable. Mm-hmm. And this is just, you have a hang up right now about something's played, like things like that.
Right.
Or, I've had everything from I just think they need to be panned further and this, that. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's not going to make the song any better.
Right.
I'll do that. But, weird little hang up things that have nothing to do with the song.
Yeah. How much of that do you think is when I hear that story you described, it's an interesting one. The guy comes to you, flies out, you basically get happy. He's happy in the room. He's liking it in the room. I'm sure it wasn't even just the room. I bet you there was some car check involved. It's probably another, maybe headphones, something.
Or another person he played it for or whatever.
Well, yeah. I'm just trying to separate the two. Like when he's with you, it's all working great, and it probably like he didn't just check it in the studio, right? Like there was also
no, and this guy's a knowledgeable guy too. You know,
Right.
talented artist, knowledgeable, been around too. I just think he just. Just different people are, you have different issues with. But I think, and I saw red flags. I mean, in this, if you do this long enough, you see red flags and you're like, oh, should I even do this? And then you do it and you go, oh, I saw those red flags.
Yeah. He definitely played it for somebody else.
There was things I could read through the lines going, oh, I know what's going on here. Because it was through a label and I talked to the label guy, so I had a different perspective. And I go, okay, I see what's going on here. And those things happen. And then you're like, it's a little bit messy. And it's like, ugh, why do I do this?
See, I never understood.
It's what happens. You got to be prepared for it.
Totally. And I never understood that. Like I mentioned this briefly on one of the lives I was doing, where it's like when this guy, when he liked it, that's like liking your T-shirt. Like you pick out a shirt and you're like, I like the way this shirt looks. Now, if my buddy tells me he doesn't like the shirt, that's not going to make me change my mind about the shirt. Like some people, I guess it might, but I don't understand how with music or something, it's like somebody points something out and then all of a sudden they now question everything they liked. I don't get that.
There was a lot of landmines in this particular project, but I was ready for some of it. I expected some of it, but then it was just stupid. And it's one of those projects you get, and it's discouraging. You're like, oh man. But once again, if you're doing this, you got to brush yourself off and get back into it. But it bothers you. It hangs on you for a while, and that's where the Woody Allen thing comes in, and you just got to start going on to another project and forget about it.
Exactly. It's the only way. It's the best way to get over a breakup. It's the best way to get over bad commentary. It's the best way. It's any of it. You just like, what are you doing next?
And then I had honestly, I had 3-4 gigs right after that went well, and your faith is restored in mankind. So
right, yeah. Well, I bet you every engineer in the world has their stories like that.
Oh yeah.
Of
course. This is nothing new. We're not uncovering anything new here.
No, but anybody who wants to throw their stories in the comments, I love reading them because I just think they add to it's like a well of all the craziness that's gone down. So anybody who wants to do that, that'd be cool. Throw them in the comments there. But
there's those ones that come out sometimes, and it can be years, but sometimes, like in my career, I've just it'll be such a roller coaster, like just nothing, or really ones that should be making it and they almost make it, or something happens or a deal, and then it falls through, or they break up, or you have ones that you didn't think were going to do anything and they're a giant hit, and then you go years with nothing or no work. So it's at least that's how my career has been. I mean, I see some people just, man, and as in anything, I see some people just like, wow, they just have a gold, like it seems like their whole career is just gold, bam, 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 hits. So, but in this job, as it were, I mean, back in the day, it was, it could be what city you were in and what studio you were lucky enough to work at or be in, or who, now it's a whole other set of parameters that could make you or whatever, you just get, who knows? Like, you just don't know anymore. But
do you think some of that is about like getting on a short list? In other words, like the guys that mix these top records are on a short list that,
Well, yeah, but that comes down to were you in LA or Nashville and hustling it just like anybody else, and you made yourself available, you're out there at the right time, all those things. That's one way that was happening. Now it could be maybe a new way of that. Right now it could be that you're just doing a ton of new bands and mixes, and one blows up on TikTok or whatever, and that leads to somebody else I know that happens a lot with hip hop stuff and hip hop producers, and so I mean, basically it's all the same thing, just rearranged in a new time period.
Yeah.
It's all doing the work, doing good work, and being out there and being seen in some way or another, getting recognized.
Yeah, and I think there's no avoiding the putting yourself out there, so
Yeah.
it's like anybody who wants to be working on the, this side of the glass that we're on working on the music and not the artist. It's like, it's just as important for you to know how to put yourself out there as it is for the artist. I mean,
and you got to get good, and you got to be, and now you could be just maybe beating their mix at home by 5%, because everybody's getting pretty good and has all the same tools you have. So what else do you bring to the party? And it's, so the competition in that regard and different, but it's just the nature of the beast, as it keeps going on. So, having skills in writing and arranging or whatever, or, whatever you can bring to the party, it's always evolving, but it's a hustle, and you gotta have skills.
Yeah.
And you gotta get out there.
Yeah. It's a good way to end it, because that's the most important points. Get out there, build your skills. Everyone has the same tools, so nobody should look at it like they can't get in the game because it's cost prohibitive. You could use the stock plugins in any DAW, and with the skills that you build yourself based on constant effort, you might beat somebody out. And it's also, like you said, who you're working with. So the more you're out there, the more you can work with more people, the better your chances. What else?
And just real quick comment, like you're saying, using stock plugins, I was thinking about that, and it's kind of like, look at some of the things our producers that got known because they didn't have the big studios. I don't know, like for instance, like a Jack and Dino or something that did the early Nirvana and stuff. That stuff didn't sound good, or something like the Minor Threat, Fugazi stuff. It wasn't necessarily great sounding stuff, or even in Southern California, like was it 4th Street Recorders in Santa Monica. I've worked there a couple times. There was stuff coming out that was kind of lo-fi and everything, but the bands that came from that scene got big, and they used what they had, and that's how they got that sound. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's like, okay, if you don't have everything that these other guys have on there, take what you got, but kind of coming up with your own freaking sound, working with certain bands, and that's how all of a sudden that gets noticed. You could look at a lot of this stuff on Ableton that people are doing in different genres, and they're not even bothering knowing what us Pro Tools guys who mix rock are using. They're not buying all those plugins. They're having all kinds of success in their style of production. So it's the same thing, putting your spin on it. With us, sometimes doing what we're doing, we can't put a spin on that particular thing because we're doing it. So it depends where you're at, what niche you're going, and finding that, and then just grasping onto whatever needs to be done in that thing that you want to.
So true.
Be working in.
I love what you just said. And while everyone's chasing, the latest plugins to use, or what, for whatever, when you have those limitations, you could, like you said, kind of you almost can, you ring out those plugins that you got, whatever
Right.
it is you're working with, for as much as you can get out of it. And other people will never ever get to that, that last drop that you got out of that plugin in some weird, unique way, because
and
that was
you're
what
a genius
you had to
all of a
use.
sudden.
And now you're a genius. Yeah, I love that as an idea, and I find so much inspiration in old tools. Like, we should do, maybe next time we'll talk somewhat about this, possibly, but like, any weird tools that you happen to, use still, or if maybe a lot of us stuff we do is all digital, but every time I dig up like some weird piece of something, like I had this old Tascam like 6-track digital thing that has built-in effects that I'm pretty sure no plugin has ever modeled.
Right.
They're the original like digital effects, and they sound so weird and like bad, which is good because it doesn't sound like anything else.
All these plugins are doing now. There's all these like, how bad can we make stuff degrade it and stuff? And that's why I watch a lot of young Ableton producer type guys on YouTube, because talk about breaking the rules. They'll stack 1,000 plugins on top of each other without even thinking about it. The same plugin sometimes, like five times in a row. And I'm like, it's awesome. Like they're just, they go so far out there, and that's
cool.
It's awesome. I'm like, it totally gets me excited. I'm like, wow, I love that. Like, so.
You got to love what we do, don't you, Dave?
Yeah, you do. It's got to be where you can't help yourself.
Yeah.
I quit. I've quit so many. I quit every day.
That's the best part about music, though, is like the endless possibilities of creativity. And every day you clock in could be a day you come up with the coolest thing ever. And since it's all subjective, it just has to be the coolest thing to you. It doesn't have to be the coolest thing to the world. It's you.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and whoever likes your stuff. That's who it's for. I love it.
It's to me like, if something makes me smile when I'm doing something, then I know it's good. I'm like, ooh, like it tickles that one thing in me. I'm like, oh, this is why I do it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. So that's
all right.
It was a great talk, man. It was a great talk. And and anybody who hasn't seen it yet, catch me doing these live front to back mix things on my YouTube channel on the live tab, which is, I've done 3 so far, so I plan on doing tons more. I did 3 in about, 7 days, 8 days, something like that. I don't know. But there's going to be plenty more coming. And Dave, where can they find you? They want to find you.
Yeah, look me up on Instagram. That seems to be the best way people are finding me. So Dave Hillis Music on Instagram.
Excellent. Cool.
And you can DM me there or whatever,
Excellent. And I'll put a link in the description for you also. So it's a pleasure, Dave. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Till next time.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
It's been a great time. This is Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.